I wanted to talk a little bit today about my OCD and my agoraphobia and how it began and how I came to get help. I guess I've always had sort of a nervous energy about me. And as I got older, the anxiety, the nervous energy, it got worse and it got sort of unrelenting. And as that happened, I started to avoid situations that I would feel that way, which was basically whenever I left the house. So I would do the things that I had to do, like work, or any errands that I had to run, and then I would come home. As time went on, my problems progressed, and there was just less and less that I would do. And so I became more and more housebound. I was really just working and coming home. At the time, I was also dealing with OCD. My OCD was such that it took me a few hours before work of OCD rituals before I could actually go to work, and I was constantly running late, and it was a real pain in the ass. My stress levels at work were starting to go through the roof as well, and that just escalated everything with my anxiety and made everything much, much worse. And to top things off, the place that I worked went out of business. And this was really bad for me because now I had nowhere to go. And one of the worst mistakes that I ever made was I didn't go out and get a job again right away, which I was under such stress at that time that I really don't think I could have handled another job right away. But one of the worst things that I did was I stopped working, which wasn't my fault, but I stopped working and therefore I didn't have to go anywhere. So I became accustomed to not going anywhere. So that when I did, it was much, much harder to leave the house. What also happened during that time is that my OCD rituals got much, much longer because I had more time to carry them out. And unfortunately, once they get longer, you can't just stop doing them that way. Then you're accustomed to doing them that way, and you can't just go back. Now you have to do them that way. So I began to spend a lot more time on my OCD rituals. So that made me sort of doubly housebound because not only I was avoiding going out because of panic, but I was avoiding having to carry out these long rituals that, it took me forever to get ready to go out. So it really wasn't worth it unless I was really doing something worth going out for. I should mention that at that point I had stopped driving. I wasn't able to drive anymore because it would cause such panic. So I wasn't working, I wasn't driving, I wasn't leaving the house. So I went over a decade before I would even consider getting treatment, which is a real shame because I wasted all of my 20s. I just was terrified of getting help. I was terrified of talking to anyone about my problems. I say that, my family didn't know. They obviously knew something was wrong, but they didn't want to confront me and make me defensive. And I was still embarrassed by my problems. I thought the longer I didn't have to talk about it, the better off I'd be, which is obviously, I was wrong about that. So one day I was served jury duty, and I absolutely freaked out because, you have to show up for jury duty and I don't leave the house. How am I going to get out of it? I freaked out. I mean, I really freaked out. I had a breakdown over the situation. And I got drunk and I called the mobile crisis unit, and they actually came to my house and gave me an evaluation, a psych evaluation. A psychiatrist there who actually later became my doctor, he wrote a note for me to get me out of jury duty. I absolutely could not do it, and he, luckily enough, he wrote me a note. And so that was really a defining point in my life because it was shortly after that that I got help. So shortly after that, I went and got evaluated in person by the doctor that had written me the note to get out of jury duty. And he evaluated me. He diagnosed me with OCD and agoraphobia and panic, I think. And he ended up putting me on meds, which at the time I think he put me on Paxil and Xanax. Almost immediately I started noticing some pretty small but significant differences. My anxiety was less and less, and therefore I didn't have to carry out the OCD rituals to the extent that I once did. My panic, again, wasn't as bad, so I didn't fear my physical symptoms, so I wasn't as afraid to do things. And life really began to improve little by little. I spent so many years worrying about that, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed. I didn't want anyone to know I was different. Um, I didn't want to be a disappointment to my family, which is funny because they knew something was wrong and didn't want to say anything. And I probably knew that they knew something was wrong. I couldn't have, I was spending 10 hours a day at my worst on my OCD rituals, and I didn't leave the house and I wasn't working and it just wasn't normal. So they obviously knew something was wrong, but it's kind of that big elephant in the room that nobody talks about. We kind of just avoided it. And it's really a shame because I wasted so much good time of my life when if I would have gotten help and would have been able to talk to my family and a doctor about it, I would have really been a lot better off and been able to sort of manage my life in a much better way. So I finally got help with the support of my family and my boyfriend. And one thing I have to say is that, you think that they're going to freak out, your family's going to freak out when you tell them, or that they're not going to be supportive. And it's really just the opposite. They were relieved that I finally opened up to them so they could talk to me about it. And I was relieved that they admitted they knew about it and they weren't judging me because of it. They just wanted me to get help. So I'm just regretful of all the time that I wasted. I wish I had gotten help a lot sooner. And I'm so glad and lucky that I have a supportive family. So that's my story of agoraphobia and OCD and how I came to get help. I would hope that if anyone is considering getting help, that they will and won't avoid getting help because of shame or embarrassment or because they think that their family won't be supportive, because chances are they will be. But that's my story, and I don't want to get too preachy on you guys. If you have any questions or anything, I'll expand on, whatever it is you want me to talk about. And until then, I'm out.